So this woman actually called the police because I wouldn't give her my custom wedding cake. Not a cake from the display. Not a cake she ordered. My wedding cake that I had just picked up for my own wedding happening in 6 hours. Let me rewind to how we got here. It was a Saturday morning in late September, and I was at Sweet Crumb Bakery on Maple Street in Westfield, New Jersey. If you've never been there, it's this tiny little shop wedged between a dry cleaner and a nail salon. They do incredible custom work, and my fiancé and I had ordered our wedding cake 4 months in advance. 3 tiers, vanilla bean with raspberry filling, ivory buttercream with hand-piped gold leaf details. It cost us $1,100, and it was a masterpiece. I got there right when they opened at 8 because our ceremony was at 2, and the venue needed the cake delivered by 10:30. I was already running on 4 hours of sleep and pure adrenaline. My best man Derek was waiting in the car with the engine running because we had the back seat laid flat with a foam pad specifically to transport this cake safely. The owner, Maria, brought the cake out from the back in this big white box. She opened it to show me, and honestly, I almost cried. It was exactly what we wanted. She closed it up, and I was carrying it very carefully toward the front door when this woman stepped directly into my path. She was probably mid-40s, blonde highlights, full face of makeup at 8 in the morning, wearing a Lululemon outfit that probably cost more than my suit rental. She had a boy with her who looked about 7 or 8, and he was wearing a little suit with a bow tie. "Oh my God, that cake is gorgeous," she said, looking right at the box I was holding. "How much is that one?" I smiled politely and said, "Thanks, but this one's mine. I'm getting married today." I tried to step around her. She moved with me. Like, she literally sidestepped to stay in front of me. "But I need a cake for my son's communion party. It's today at noon. How much did you pay for it?" "I'll pay you the same amount." I kind of laughed because I thought she was joking. "I appreciate the offer, but this is my wedding cake. I really can't sell it." Her face changed. You know that look some people get where the friendliness just evaporates, and there's something cold underneath. That look. "I wasn't really asking," she said. "My son's first communion is a sacred event. Surely you understand that a child's religious milestone is more important than a party." I was standing there holding a 20-pound cake, and this woman was blocking the door of a bakery telling me that her kid's event outranked my wedding. I looked over at Maria behind the counter, and Maria looked like she had seen this exact type of person before. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to let me through. This is my cake. You can talk to Maria about ordering one." "I already talked to her last week," the woman snapped. She said the earliest she could do a custom cake was next Thursday. "That doesn't work for me. I need one today, and that one is perfect." Maria called out from behind the counter, "Ma'am, I told you I could do a simple sheet cake by this afternoon. I can't do a 3-tier custom cake in 4 hours." The woman ignored her entirely. She turned back to me and said, "I'll give you $1,500 for it. That's more than you paid. You can get a sheet cake from Costco. Honestly, it would probably taste better anyway. I want you to understand something. My fiancé and I had spent weeks picking out every detail of this cake. She had sent Maria a Pinterest board with 47 pins. We had done 2 tastings. This was not a Costco sheet cake situation. The answer is no. Please move." That's when the kid started. He tugged on her sleeve and said, "Mom, I want that cake. You promised me a big cake." And she looked down at him, then looked at me with this expression like I was personally ruining her child's life and said, "See what you're doing. You're making a child cry on his special day. What kind of person does that?" The kid wasn't even crying, by the way. He was just standing there, looking vaguely bored. Derek walked in at this point because I'd been gone too long. He's 6'4" and was wearing a groomsman's shirt that said "Best Man" across the back. He looked at the situation and said, "Dude, what's the holdup? This woman wants to buy our wedding cake." Derek looked at her and said, "Yeah, that's not happening." He held the door open and kind of positioned himself between her and me so I could walk through. I made it 3 steps before she grabbed the edge of the cake box. She grabbed it while I was carrying it. I felt the box shift and my heart stopped. "Let go of the box," I said, and I was not polite about it anymore. "You're being selfish," she hissed. "My son's communion is a once-in-a-lifetime event. So is my wedding." Maria came around the counter at that point and said firmly, "You need to let go of that box and leave my store right now, or I'm calling the police." The woman let go, thankfully, but she didn't leave. She pulled out her phone and said, "Fine, I am calling the police. This man is stealing a cake that I offered to purchase." She actually called. She actually dialed 911 and told them that a man in a bakery was refusing to sell her a cake that she needed for her son's religious event, and that the bakery owner was being discriminatory. I stood there holding my wedding cake, listening to this woman tell a 911 dispatcher that she was experiencing discrimination at a bakery because of her religion. You could hear the dispatcher asking her to clarify the emergency. She kept saying, "It is an emergency. My son's party starts in 4 hours, and they won't sell me the cake." Maria was on her own phone calling the non-emergency line. Derek was recording video on his phone because, as he said later, no one is going to believe this. 2 officers showed up about 12 minutes later. I know because I was watching the clock and having a slow-motion panic about my wedding timeline. Officer Reyes and his partner walked in, and the woman immediately rushed up to them. "Officer, this bakery is refusing to serve me, and this man bought the last cake knowing I needed it." Officer Reyes looked at me, holding the cake box. He looked at Derek in his best man shirt. He looked at Maria. Then he looked back at the woman. "Ma'am, is this your cake?" "No, but I offered to buy it and he refused." "So he purchased a cake from this business and you'd like to purchase it from him and he said no?" "Yes." "Ma'am, that's not a crime. That's just someone not wanting to sell you their property." "But my son's communion is today." The officer took a breath, the kind of deep breath that tells you someone is exhausting every ounce of their professional training. "That's unfortunate, but this gentleman has no obligation to sell you his cake. And ma'am, 911 is for emergencies. Filing a false report is a misdemeanor." She started arguing with the officer, actually arguing, telling him he didn't understand the situation, that Maria was running her business improperly, that I was being selfish. Her son, at this point, had sat down in one of the bakery chairs and was playing a game on a tablet, completely unbothered. Officer Reyes told her she needed to leave the business, or she would be cited for trespassing. She grabbed her son's hand and stormed out, but not before turning around and yelling, "I'm leaving a 1-star review on every platform. You'll be out of business by Monday." She did, by the way. She left 5 separate 1-star reviews on Google, Yelp, and Facebook. But here's the thing about that. Derek had posted his video on TikTok that night while we were all at the reception, and it went absolutely viral. 3 million views in 2 days. The internet found the reviews, and people started flooding Sweet Crumb with 5-star reviews. Maria told me the following week that she had more orders than she'd had in the previous 3 months combined. She had to hire 2 more decorators. Oh, and the cake was perfect, by the way. It survived the transport. It survived the insane woman at the bakery, and it survived my Uncle Ray bumping the table during his toast. My wife and I cut into it at exactly 4:15 that afternoon, and it was the best cake I've ever tasted. Maria refused to charge us for the groom's cake she had also made. She said the free publicity was more than enough payment. As for the woman, someone in the TikTok comments identified her from the video. Turns out she had done something similar at a florist the week before, trying to demand another customer's pre-ordered arrangement. The florist owner commented on Derek's video, confirming it. From what I heard, her parish priest saw the video too and had a conversation with her about the behavior. I don't know what came of that, but I hope something did. My wife and I just celebrated 5 months of marriage. We're doing great, and every time we drive past Sweet Crumb Bakery, we wave at Maria through the window. She waves back. Last week she told us she's expanding into the space next door where the dry cleaner used to be. Sometimes the worst people bring out the best outcomes. But if you're out there and you think you deserve someone else's wedding cake because your kid's party is more important, I promise you it's not. Get your own cake. Order ahead. And for the love of God, don't call 911 about it.